So again, we'll be having Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. It'll be a 2-part in-person workshop with Karen D. So, and
thanks, everybody. Boy, it's so good to see actual people again. This is nice. Hi. I'm seeing people that I've seen on Zoom meetings. I'm like, I know that guy. I know her. I went to Mount Rushmore yesterday and found a bunch of sick people all getting well. It was wonderful. I much prefer people who are in recovery because we know we got problems. How's the audio? Looks good? Okay. So we're going to be talking about the patterns today. And this is important. The patterns are everything. The patterns are codependence. That's what it is. When you use a pattern, you are being codependent. So when you hear in the book where it says old ideas, shortcomings, defects of character, these are patterns. These are your use of the patterns. That's it. When you boil it down to that, it's really simple until you read all the patterns and you go, oh, man, well, I do all of those. But that's okay. It's a work in progress. I'm going to have to chew on this. All right. So we're going to start with one of my favorites. This is not the one I typically use, but denial patterns. What could be easier? Never happened. If you don't want to deal with something, that's not a problem. It never happened, or it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Let me settle down for a moment. I always get anxious when I first start speaking. About 5 minutes in, I'm like, whatever. They don't like me. That's their problem. CoDA. So, denial patterns. And by the way, old ideas, in case nobody's ever talked to you, my sponsor explained this to me in gory detail. She said, your old idea is if I do or say this or that, then they will do or say what I want them to, and then I'll be happy. The use of the patterns is all about making yourself happy or safe or, feel comfortable with the situation, whatever it is. And we might not take the whole time to go through all of these, but then again, we might. There's a lot of them. If you have any questions whatsoever, please raise your hand. And if you can contribute something that I might have not caught on to, please let me know. Because I don't resonate with each and every pattern, just about like 99%. But there's always that 1%. People over here, I won't be seeing you as much, so yell at me, okay? I have to ask you, Gail, do you have any relations named Tori? You related to a female named Tori at all? Yes. Wow. You have a doppelganger. She was my boss. Yes and no. Okay. I like her now. We had trouble starting out. I was 6 months sober. I'm like a raw nerve, right? 6 months sober, I don't know shit, but I don't know anything, but I certainly think that I do. And we just butted heads the whole time. When I made my amend to her finally from my heart instead of my head, then we got along famously, and I still run into her. So when I saw you, I thought, that can't be Tori. She would never come to one of these. I'm sorry. Okay. Denial patterns. I printed out for you, and this is really cool. You can get a lot of these things on CoDA.org. That's where I got this. Go take a look. There's just tons of stuff in there for you that you can print out and have. The patterns are important because after you finish your steps, this is what you're going to be looking for on your 10th step. Did I do any one of these or a combination thereof today? Usually now, my 10th step used to take a bulldozer, but now it's more of a dust broom, It's just, I could have done that better type of thing. It's not as gross or obvious as it used to be. So let's begin. Denial patterns have difficulty identifying what they're feeling. Well, I didn't have trouble with that. I just thought I was angry. I'm angry, I'm sad. And I just had the dark ones. I just had a couple. That was it. I had to use a face chart to find out how I was feeling. They have the little drawings of faces on there. One's like, and one, and so that I could, that's what I feel like. I could point to it. That's what I feel like. Oh, that's depressed. Okay. My poor psychiatrist. She says, Karen, I don't know if you're depressed because you're an alcoholic or you're an alcoholic because you're depressed. Why don't you stop drinking for a while and we'll figure it out? I said, well, that's my last option. That's my last source of comfort. What, are you kidding me? She was crazy. Okay. So I had to look at that face chart to see that facial expression and go, yes, that's what I'm feeling right now. And I also really never considered how I felt. I just considered how you felt. It was more important to me that you be happy. So I would kind of give up everything to make sure that that was going to happen, no matter what it took. And that took some bad things sometimes. Looking back on it now, I go, wow, it's just a part of my story, but oh boy, did I have to go through all that? You know, did I have to go through all that just to get here? Apparently. So here we are. Minimize. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me give you the recovery thing too. In recovery, after you work the steps, and if this doesn't happen after you've worked the steps, go back to page 1 and do it again because you missed something. If you have a sponsor who is just exactly like you are, get a different sponsor. If you are the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. Okay? Go find out somebody who can teach you something. In recovery, I am aware of my feelings and identify them often in a moment. I know the difference between my thoughts and my feelings. There is a difference. Didn't know that either. I didn't know a lot of stuff. But to identify your feeling helps you find out where it's coming from. And this is even small little things. I get annoyed by loud noises, people who bark when they talk or laugh when they, just, whoops, I think I just turned myself off. Did I just blow a speaker? Cool. Huh? All right. I'll keep trying. Okay, not yet. No worries. But people that would bark out a laugh or suddenly get loud scared me, and I didn't realize why, and all I got was angry. When they would do that, I would get anxious and angry. That was the feeling that I could say I was having. What I really was afraid, because in my house, we were quiet, like church mice. If you got noticed, you got nailed. So in my house, it was very, very quiet until there was something going on, and that was that loud, barking voice that meant trouble. Somebody's in trouble, and that's why it was bothering me. It was that simple. Knowing that, figuring that out, I go, well, that's not happening anymore. He's dead. So I don't have to worry about that. I can recognize it. Okay, yeah, all right. Have my little girl go back down for a nap. Go play. We got it, and everything's okay. Minimize, alter, or deny how they truly feel. Wow. If I told you how I really felt, number one, you'd leave me. We couldn't risk that sort of thing. I couldn't risk that. So I would have let you know how I felt. In order to keep my fake relationships going, it's important, I had to keep making adjustments in my own feelings to make it work. For example, he's probably too busy to call me today. He works so hard. Isn't he great? Wow, I'm so lucky to have him in my life. That's the kind of altering, minimizing, denying. Hasn't called me for a week, and then when he finally calls, it's like, I told you he loved me. Ta-da! Right? That's a short version of da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, yeah, and it didn't hurt at all. Once I figured it out in my head and convinced myself that everything was okay. After all, it's all done. We can move on to the next Greek tragedy, right? Perceive themselves as completely unselfish and dedicated to the well-being of others. Oops, wait a minute. In recovery, I embrace my feelings. They are valid and important, except for the ones that aren't. When you're making stuff up, that's not real, and it's not important. Stop doing that. My sponsor, after I would come through with my latest problem, God, she has a nervous tick now because of me, I'm sure of it. But I would tell her my big problem, I was like, oh, it was so awful. And she'd say, well, Karen, it sounds like you're making stuff up again. And she didn't use that word, but she's got kind of a potty mouth, which I really like. But she said, yeah, it sounds like you're making stuff up. Yeah, but, yeah, but I think I'm right. How could you be right? That's in the future. But I got to figure this stuff out and convince her. She's my sponsor. She needs to know the real story here so she can get on my team and maybe go beat somebody up for me, So frustrating. She never did that. Instead, she would just smile that little smile. Oh, Karen, sounds like you're making stuff up again. Okay, I have to admit that you're right on that score. But someday, I'm going to come up with a justifiable resentment. I'm going to blow your socks off. She said, shall be right here. No, I can wait. Perceive themselves as completely unselfish and dedicated to the well-being of others. Absolutely. I was trying to help you so that you could make me feel better. If I say or do this, then you will say or do that, and I will feel better. That's what it was all about all the time. I didn't know that. I thought I was being unselfish and helpful, grotesquely, aggressively helpful. People don't like that, as it turns out. Sure. Absolutely. Sure. Okay, he wants me to back off. How about here? Why does everybody keep saying that to me? God, this is, emotionally. Okay, I can do that. It's going to be funner than I thought. Is that okay? Right about here. I usually have to eat the microphone. I don't know why I don't have a big voice. All right. Take it under advisement. Thank you very much. When people give me advice and things like that, thank you. Then I do with it what I want. Okay. Right? It's important. Get on to that later. That's under control. Not you. Not you. Okay. Boy, I should have waited on that one, huh? All right. Lack empathy for the feelings and needs of others. Well, in my victimhood, nobody else mattered. Nobody else had feelings. It took me a while to realize that other people have feelings. Mine were the ones that were important because I was the injured party. Period. It was so simple then. I was the one being hurt, not you. My perception was that everyone else had more than I did. So if I came out on top every once in a while, that's a good thing, right? I had some really twisted thinking back then, but it would actually make me happy if I would get somebody else to go down so I could go up. Silly. But it worked. Made me happy for a while, for a short moment. When they tell you in the book that the use of the patterns is short-lived, that's what they mean by that. I can get somebody to do what I want them to do, but I haven't changed their behavior. I've just changed them for that minute. Next year on Valentine's Day, I'm going to have to change them again if I want to get those flowers. Right? It's not in their nature. Okay, didn't know that either. I am able to feel compassion for another's feelings and needs. This is not to say that I'm going to take them on. That's in a different pattern. We're going to get to that one. Label others with their negative traits. If you're taking notes, you might want to write down, if you can spot it, you've got it. And really simply, anytime I start pointing my finger at somebody else's defects, oh, she's such a gossip. Well, am I talking to myself? I'm obviously telling somebody else that she's a gossip. What am I doing? I'm gossiping. Okay? I acknowledge that I may own the negative traits that I often perceive in others. And the good news about that is if you spot that, all you need to do is go to work on it. That's all. Doesn't make you a bad person. Nothing wrong with you. You're not defective. You just have some work to do. Think they can take care of themselves without any help from others. That's an odd one, because I would go back and forth with this one. Sometimes I would need to be God, and then other times I would need you to be God. It wasn't all one way all the time. I'm seeing some nodding heads, so other people have had this experience. It wasn't that I was always in control. It's just that when I had to be, whatever fit the moment. I'm very changeable. I can use any pattern or a combination of them, whatever is necessary for that moment to get my need met, whatever I think that is. I'm an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. Might want to write that one down too. It's odd. When I first heard that, I thought, well, that's impossible. No, wait a minute. No, it isn't. Because that's exactly the good description of me. I'm an egomaniac, meaning I'm very capable of handling everything that needs to be handled, with an inferiority complex. Well, what if I do it wrong? Then what? In recovery, I acknowledge that I sometimes need the help of others. I acknowledge that a lot now. One of my favorite phrases is, I don't know. My other favorite phrase is, let's find out. I'm one of those, and I've got I was out with some girls last night and had to beat this other one to her Safari app because between the two of us, whatever came up, we were at Mount Rushmore on a Crazy Horse, and a question would come up, let's find out. She always got there before me. She's been at this a lot longer than me, because I used to know everything, and I could bluff my way in and out of anything. I lied to get every job I ever had, I think. I'm pretty sure about that. Have you done this before? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they're going to show you how they want you to do it anyway. Duh, right? So, yeah, I've done that. Sure have. And I had lots of different jobs. Have you ever driven a limo? That was my scariest one, because those are long cars. I'm going to wreck this for sure. Yeah. I acknowledge that I sometimes need the help of others. I need the help of a sponsor. I need the help of a higher power. I need the help of everybody in this room, because there are things that I don't know. And usually when I do one of these, I come away learning something brand new. It's really cool. I need to be able to keep learning all the time, because to me it's an adventure. It's not drudgery. It's not something I dread, or it's not something that's going to make me look stupid anymore. Now it's an adventure. Oh, guess what I learned today? And I go home and tell my boyfriend, my normie boyfriend, he's like, yeah. Look, yeah, I know, he knew that. He knows all of that stuff. But it's weird. He, and here's what's the difference between a normal person, normal, and an abnormal person, me. He was raised in a nurturing atmosphere. He knew he was loved, for certain. But when he did something wrong, he had consequences, right? So he knew that he had boundaries and things like that, but he also knew that he was loved. Now, my household, completely different, non-nurturing, unless it was a trip to the emergency room. We had to be bleeding or something, or exposed bone, something like that. Then we got the nurturing, right? Other than that, we could be getting in trouble for the same thing we did last week and got praise for. You just never knew. It's really volatile. Couldn't quite figure out what to say at the right time. It just seemed like I was always wrong. I always picked the wrong option. God bless me, I tried, though. Mask pain in various ways, such as anger, humor, or isolation. Now, for me, I'm an avoider. So isolation is the very safest, easiest, laziest way to go about this. My sponsor, when she had initially started working with me, she says, okay, Karen, it looks like you're an avoider. So what we're going to do is for the next 90 days, I want you to stop saying no. I want you to say yes to everything. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like a good idea. 90 days in a row. She said, yeah. And she was tricking me, of course. She meant forever. But she's very sneaky. But I said, sure, yeah, 90 days, I can do that. That's only 3 months. And 3 months, oof, boy, that's a long time. But I started saying yes instead of saying no, because my natural reaction, nope, that's probably going to come out badly. I don't have to have something go wrong. It just has to seem like it might go wrong. And I'm out of there. I don't mess around with that stuff. Why would I put myself in that position? How many times do you have to pet the tiger to figure out they don't want you to pet them? Okay. Unless you have meat in the other hand. I don't know. I don't even know how you go about that. Mask pain. So isolation was my humor. Is another one. I use that appropriately now. Oddly, I finally found out how to use my humor appropriately. most of the time. But I still, I can judge people's moods wrong, crack a stupid joke or something, and they just go nuts. Well, I did it again. I am aware of my painful feelings and express them appropriately. Here's the bonus. Since I worked the steps, I don't have painful feelings, not about my past. And if I have a painful feeling that comes up now, it's because I missed something. I just missed something, that's all. There's something from my past that I don't remember or didn't remember when I was doing my 4th and 5th step. Not a problem. We'll go ahead and work it out now. Call my sponsor if I need to. And we're done. It's done. So there's not a whole lot of pain in my life, honestly. And letting other people be who they actually are. Okay. That's so boring. Because I used to be able to tell people how they should be, what they should say, how they should feel, how they should act, what tone of voice to talk to me in. I could tell them the whole thing, and then I would be happy, briefly. Direct confrontation was too risky. I would gather a posse of people and get them on my side so I could get sympathy and understanding. That's another trick I did. I'd tell everybody I knew, especially at work. Tell everybody, all my coworkers, so they would be mad at her too. So then I would have people on my side that understood me. St. Francis' prayer is really neat about that. When I first heard about that part where it says, I seek rather to understand than to be understood. And that really leveled me when I heard that. I thought that would be a nice goal. I think I'm going to work on that for a while. Because I needed everybody else to understand me and adjust to what I needed at that moment. And that could change. Looking back on it, I don't know how anybody stood being around me. I don't know. My family even, they still talk to me. I don't want them to, but they do. It's the weirdest thing. I must have been just, well, maybe they're codependent as well. We'll go there. Okay. Let's see. I'm aware of my painful feelings. Okay. Express negativity or aggression in indirect or passive ways. Oh, yeah. Yeah, gosh, how do we do that in passive ways and indirect ways? Silent treatment is one. If I want you to be mad or you to know that I'm mad, I'm just not going to talk to you. I wasn't as good at that one because I'm I'm a scrapper. So I'd get in there and tell them how wrong they were, usually. But then I was also afraid, that egomaniac with the inferiority complex. What's going to happen if I say this? What's going to happen if I go up against this and say a different position? Or if I'm unhappy about something, what if I say that? What's going to happen? People fear what might occur. What if, that whole what if thing. If I do this, what if my whole relationship implodes? Is this big enough for me to implode an entire relationship? Nah, I'll just minimize this one. We'll just deny it. Not that big of a deal. And then you start stacking them up, and usually it comes out sideways somewhere on somebody else's head, not your victim. I mean, you're not the person you wanted it to. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. And I would not allow anybody to know they had hurt me. I had a poker face. This was I didn't realize that I had this until other people mentioned it to me. I had an unreadable, psychopathic face. That's what psychopaths do, right? I passed a test on that one time. I'm going to tell it to you real quick. I got the answer so quick, I thought that can't be right. Okay. Woman goes to her mother's funeral and sees a guy there, and it's like she chats him up for a little bit. He's Mr. Wonderful. He's attractive. He's got everything she ever wanted. This is the guy. But she doesn't get his contact information. She forgot to. So she went home and killed her sister. Why did she do that? Anybody else psychopathic in here? Because he might show up at the sister's funeral. Okay. I got that right away. I'm just saying. That's the way my mind works. Okay? Not so much anymore. Don't be scared. I don't want you to be nervous around me, but, it's an underlying, that's how my mind works. I don't know. Not so much anymore because I'm getting weller and weller, but, yeah, it certainly used to. I'm kind of proud of that. Well, I was proud. Okay, express negativity. Okay, got that. Do not recognize the unavailability of those people to whom they are attracted. Anyone else in the room have that problem? Just me? Okay, there we are. That's why we're here. You know, that's what I probably brought more people into CoDA than anything else. You know, that unavailable person over and over and over again. They might wear different clothes, might have different hair color, but it is the same person. So, what did I say about that? My example of a love relationship was my parents, and so was yours. If you want to think about that while you're growing up and you're a kid and you're thinking they're just supposed to love on you and pay attention to you, they're having a bad relationship, or you wouldn't be here. So think about their relationship for a little bit and just see, I mean, did they even have time to deal with you? My parents didn't. My mom's excuse, well, I never drew boundaries on you. She doesn't even know that word. I'm sorry. I never said no because I didn't want your stepdad to be angry at you, so I was protecting you. Wow, that sounds really good, but that's not true. She was protecting herself. She didn't want to have strife in her relationship. That's okay. I understand that now as a grown-up. I've had relationships, but as a kid, we don't understand that stuff. Why aren't they paying attention to me? Everything is different now. Thank God for the CoDA program. Everything is different. Yeah. I mean, jeez. If we weren't here, okay. If I was pursued, no, wait a minute. If they were unavailable to me, that's what felt normal. My parents were unavailable. I had to have a really big problem, again, a bone sticking out of my leg, to have enough guts to go in there and say, I need to go to the emergency room. And I went one time, oh man, I was in so much trouble. I was always in so much trouble. I went babysitting and I went down the slide collapsed, my leg hurt, okay. So I couldn't walk on it the next day. I was scared to death. Mom tried to send me to the store and I said, I can't. And I thought she was going to beat me to death right there, but I said I hurt my foot, whatever. So we go to the emergency room. We're down there in Kaiser for hours on a weekend, hours. And she's getting madder and madder. And she's making these comments about these people. What's the matter with these people? In retrospect, when I do something like that, I'm doing it for the benefit of the person I'm with. I'm being angry on their behalf. That's what she was doing. Now that I've done it, I know what that's all about. But what I heard when she was doing this is, you dragged me out of the house on the weekend, and here we are. So they said, well, it's sprained. And they wrapped it up and said, go on home. I'm like, oh, God, just a sprain. Oh, no. And sure enough, it's just a sprain. You know, I got a lot of grief for that. And they called on Monday, and they said, gee, I hope she hasn't walked on that. Mom says, why not? Said, well, it's cracked. And as you cracked across the joint and up the bone and things, I'm like, hallelujah. Ha! Thank you. Now I can get the sympathy I should have got the first time. Okay. It was really sick. But it makes for good stories. Okay. So if people were unavailable to me, that felt normal. If I was pursued by someone who was attracted to me, I found them boring. And I would run and often pursue someone I couldn't have. Usually the most attractive person in the room, the most unavailable, the least sensitive person in the room. That'd be my guy right there. And I'm going to change them because I can make them, they haven't had the real love yet. That's what I would decide. And they just needed the love I could give them. And then they'd be settled down. We'd be like a fairy tale. I had to stop reading romance novels, okay? Because that is garbage. And just in case you're wondering, none of that is true, okay? None of that is true. That never works out that way. Not forever, like it says in the book. So I always found the most attractive in the room, and it was always short-lived. Duh, right? I had a different idea. I was looking for love. They were looking for sex. And it was a brief match. Again, that brief moment. You can get somebody to be attracted to you or look like they like you or change their mind or give you flowers on Valentine's Day, but you haven't changed their basic nature. You've changed them for a moment, usually to get you to shut up. Basically, it was seemed to be the way it worked out for me. And once I would shut up, they would go back to being who they were. If I tried to leave, said, I'm done, I'm going to go find myself another unavailable person, they were flowers and they were love bombs and things like that. And it was short-lived. Never forget the short-lived part. It's not permanent. And really, if they don't have recovery, if you're not in a relationship right now and you think about starting one, make sure they're in a recovery, or they were nurtured when they grew up with consequences. There aren't that many of them. There aren't that many of those people. They're already settled down. I got lucky. I don't know what happened. I tripped over this guy. Neither one of us was looking is what happened. We got set up by mutual friends that said, oh, you guys would be so great together. And I had been put on a man band by my sponsor and for a year. And I liked it so much, I was 5 years in. I've got my own timetable. I can use the remote all by myself. I get to do what I want. And they said, oh, I got this guy for you. And I said, no. I'm not qualified for relationships. Obviously. I've tried it over and over. And he was on the other side going, no, he had been married for 39 and a half years to the same woman, only one he'd ever been with. This is how normal he is. And they were 3.5 years into a separation, living in different states. And he's going like, nah, I think I'm going to leave that alone. So they sat us together at the same table. We've been together ever since. That's just the way it worked out. They were right. We're a good fit. We both like fart jokes. I don't know why. If you can find somebody that likes fart jokes, if you do, it's a match. And it's that simple. At least for me, anyway. All right. So another thing that gets us here is low self-esteem. If you don't think much of yourself, you're going to be in here. Or you're going to be out there suffering, your choice. Low self-esteem is devastating. And codependents often have difficulty making decisions. Now, I had trouble with this one, and I'm going to ask for somebody. I didn't resonate with this one per se because my problem is that I would make snap decisions and not think it through first. Can anybody relate to this one, have difficulty in making decisions? Can you tell me what that's all about?
I can't make the right one.
Oh, what if I make the wrong one? Okay. Yep, and here it is. I asked somebody else this, and I put it in my notes. I didn't want to make the wrong decision. Wrong equals stupid, and stupid equals bad. And that was really the way I lived my life. I didn't want to look stupid. I would guard against that. Seriously guard against looking stupid. I wouldn't try anything new. Karen, do you want to play softball? No. I would look stupid if I did that. Not only that, I'd hand your team a loss, okay? I don't want you to hate me. Let's just leave me off the softball team. And if I couldn't do something well, I wouldn't do it at all. That's the way you don't look stupid, you see. That's how that works. I got over that when I decided I wanted to be a snowboarder. And I had been a skier, the worst skier ever. Worst skier in the history of the sport. The agony of defeat guy? That should have been me. I was always on the ground. My knees were hurting all the time. Always in a snowplow. It was awful. But then I moved to Lake Tahoe. There's snow all around, things like that. I need to do something different. So I went and took a snowboard lesson. I was horrible at it. But I said, you know what? This is the one I want to do. I'm going to take time and learn this one. And it took me a season. I did not take to it naturally. Those people who climb up on, they go bowling. Oh, I've never been bowling before. And they bowl a perfect game or something, I hate those. No, I don't hate those people. I'm going to hear from my sponsor because she can hear me right now. I just know it. She doesn't have to tune in. She knows about this stuff. So I took up snowboarding and I was dedicated to it, and I was on my face, snow up my nose, my knees were killing me. I was head banging all the time. It's a miracle I lived through it. But at the end of the season, I was going down black runs. And now, I don't want to mistake this. I was not gliding graciously down black runs. I survived a black run. Okay, it wasn't pretty, but I made it down. So it was something that I decided that I wanted enough to where it was okay for me to look stupid. And boy, I'll tell you, wow. I know I look stupid, but it made me angry, and I got up and did it again. So now I'm a snowboarder, and I love it. Love, love, love it. But if you had said, before I got into CoDA, before I got into recovery, and before my sponsor said, say yes, instead of no all the time, I would have never tried it. No way. That's going to make me look bad. That's not, no. I can't have that. I already don't feel good about myself. Why would I want to add to that? It's ridiculous. So now, let's see if I want to see what I have about that. Didn't want to make the wrong decision. Okay, so now I trust my ability to make effective decisions. You know why? Because if I'm not sure, I ask for help. Can you believe it? I ask somebody else's opinion. I bounce things off other people, my sponsor in particular. And it, the more you do it, the less you have to do it. It's weird. Because the right thing comes to you. If you have a good higher power, got a good solid program going, if you're spiritually fit, the right thing is going to occur to you as the right thing, not a possibility. Here's the difference between thinking and intuition. Thinking is something, it's a process that you put yourself through. You're grinding on something, you're thinking the pros and cons, yes, right or right, like good or bad. Intuition, go do that. It comes to you right away. I can't tell you how many times I've made amends because my intuition said, do it now. I'm like, oh man, right now? Are you sure? And it worked out, and it worked out splendidly. My boss that looks just like Gail over here, her name's Tori. When I finally made my amend to her, it was because my intuition said, do it now. I was not up for that one. I was never going to do that one. I was probably going to lie about it to my sponsor. She should have apologized to me first, as far as I'm concerned, because she was meaner. Okay? And I got over that. And from my heart, when I made my amend to her that day, when I heard that little voice, it was beautiful. It was heartfelt. It was from both sides, and we appreciated each other for our own, weaknesses, I guess you would call them, or basically our own use of the patterns. It boils down to. Okay, let's see here. Judge what they think, do, or say as harshly or never good enough. Is that where I'm at? Yes. Judge what they think, say, or do harshly as never good enough. Oh, yeah. Because everybody else seems so much smarter than me. Everybody seemed smarter than me, and they seemed more secure than I was. And I don't know if they just seemed that way. That was my perception of them. If they made more money than I did, then they were obviously smarter than me. That sort of thing. It's a perception. That's what I talk myself into. It doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean I need to compare myself to anybody. That was another problem I had. Oh, I've got a burp coming. I'll try not to get that on tape. I'm pretty good at that. My comparing myself to other people is what got me in all kinds of trouble. If I perceived that you were happier than I was, then you had more than I did, and I needed what you had, not what I was supposed to have. I needed what you had. And Valentine's Day is the worst holiday on the planet, because all these people are out there having a romantic meal, and they're telling each other, I love you, even though last night they wouldn't even speak to each other. There's candy, there's gifts, there's flowers, and all this stuff. And it looks really good. Oh, I want to have that kind of love. What that looks like, that's what I want. But it's not true. I have no idea what's going on with those people. They may have a really good relationship, but I don't know that. I don't have any idea, because all I need to do, for an example, is look at my own family. They were pillars of the community, made lots of money. We had a pool in the backyard. Wow. We had it going on. But if you came into that house and we didn't know you were coming, there's no telling what you'd see. There's no telling. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not a child anymore. So what was it on the Facebook the other day? The blue door is go back to your childhood knowing everything you know now. The red door is $10 million. I go, that's easy. Give me the money, baby. I've got recovery. I don't need to go back and do that again. I don't want to, I can go back now and look at situations that I was in and go, yeah, all I had to do really was say this, and it would have been done instead of stuttering and backing into a corner and crying and myself to sleep and stuff like that. But this is the way of the world. This is the way it is. Acceptance. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. I was very nervous to express my own opinions, so I adopted the opinion of whomever was talking. You can't look stupid if you agree with someone, right? If you go with what they're talking about, then you're cool. You're accepted. You can stay in the room. If you don't, what if they ask me to leave in various forms? I never fit in anywhere, so it was easier for me just to be quiet and agree, no matter what. Are embarrassed to receive recognition, praise, or gifts. This is another one that didn't resonate with me, oddly, because I was the one that wanted more gifts, recognition. I thought I was better than I really was. I wanted some praise and some understanding and sympathy and all that other stuff. Somebody else pointed out to me, I said here, not me, I was angry at the lack of recognition and praise I felt I deserved. But a friend explained that she was always praised by her parents, and this put a lot of pressure on her to perform. Does anybody else resonate with that? Is there anybody else that has another? Yes, there you are. Thank you very much for that, because I didn't know anything about that. Anybody else embarrassed to receive recognition, praise, or gift? Yeah. What's the deal? Yeah, what's the deal? And it means more. The lady just said, I don't know if you can hear her, but she said when she used to crave validation, she would never get enough of it. And it doesn't matter how much they gave me, it was never enough, or it wasn't the right kind, or the color was wrong, or who knows. There was always something wrong with it. Once I got in recovery and started validating myself, I didn't need that anymore. So now when somebody gives me validation, I go, oh, well, thanks. Wow, that's really cool. And I appreciate it instead of go, wow, that's not enough. Isn't there a check with that or something, Don't you have some money for me or something? It was never enough. Never. Thank you very much for that. Anybody else wanted to speak up on that one? Yes. Okay, so when you were winning awards, when you finally got the award, it didn't bring you what you thought it was going to bring you. Expectations are a very dangerous thing. If you have expectations of something that you think you have earned or you're going to get or you should get or, you should get some recognition and stuff, you're just looking for a resentment. Mary did a whole workshop about this, about the expectation triangle. I wish I had it with me. I probably do somewhere, but this is different for a different time. But she might have that somewhere in her YouTube videos and things like this, because she has done a seminar on that, the expectation triangle, how you get in it and how you get back out. Basically, you just go backwards, and get yourself back out. But yeah, when I expect things, I don't expect anything now, and I get the neatest surprises. Wow. I mean, seriously, I showed up at Mount Rushmore last night, and I knew I was going to meet one person, and so I'm texting her, I'm here, where you at, and I hear Karen. Oh my God, it's Jiffy. And there she was, and we went out farting around. We went over to Crazy Horse as well, went out and got some dinner, had a great time. That's not like me. But my sponsor told me a long time ago, Karen, whatever you have a really good idea, do the opposite, you should be okay. That's really good advice. As it turns out, that's really good advice. If you're questioning something, what would I normally do in this circumstance? Do the opposite. What you normally do got you right here. Got you a seat. That's it. It's not even your seat. Anybody can sit there. So, see that? And value others' approval of their thinking, feelings, and behavior over their own. Yeah, everybody was smarter than me. I was a chameleon. I would change my behavior to suit the people I was with at the time. I was afraid that if I didn't do that, they would kick me out of their little club, I wasn't in the club for my life. Now, I was a child of the 60s. I was born in 54, so by the time I hit high school, it was the hippie era, right? So it was perfect because you had more groups to try to fit into, okay? Now there's the stoner group that's available. and that's where I belong, because they don't even know you're there, right? So they don't throw you out. But I wasn't smart enough to be in the smart kids group. I was too pudgy to be a cheerleader. I wasn't sporty. I hate sports, hate to even walk places. I'd rather drive. So I didn't fit in anywhere but with the stoners, and that's what started my career. Yeah, I started with drugs. Everybody did. Back then, we used to drop acid and go back to class. It was awesome. I learned a lot. I don't remember any of it, but I learned a lot. I was very focused. Very, very focused. Okay. So let's see, value. Now, in recovery, I value the opinions of those I trust without needing to gain their approval. I have confidence in myself. Yeah, if somebody else comes up with a great idea, I tell them, man, you know what? That's a great idea. I would never have said that before. For me, if I complimented somebody, that meant I diminished myself somehow. If I put them up, that meant I was going down. If they're winning, then I must be losing. So I just never appreciated anyone else for anything. How are we doing here? Is it really 4:30? It can't be. What time is it? It's who? 2:24. All right, Minnie. She's throwing me off. 2:24. Got about another half an hour. Perfect. Before we take a break. Quiet, Minnie. Okay. Let's see. Do not perceive themselves as lovable or worthwhile persons. This was hard for me for the longest time. I think I finally had to look in the mirror, and this only happened a couple of years ago. I finally looked in the mirror and said, Karen, those wrinkles are not going to get smaller. They're going to get bigger. And so you need to fall in love with yourself right now, the way you are. Because, then you might have to battle this later. I'm lucky I come from farmer stock. My mom just turned 90. She still looks good. They live into their hundreds in my family, so I have to kind of take care of myself. What a drag. Because I don't like exercise unless I'm tricked into it. If I'm out having snowboarding, that's exercise. I'm enjoying myself, having a good time. If somebody says, hey, let's go for a walk. Why? I can sit right here and be just as happy as, I don't get that whole exercise thing. I think it's bad for you. Okay. See, that's me, minimizing, altering, and denying. Nobody had to tell me I wasn't good enough. It was something that I just knew. Nobody told me I was stupid, but they did say if I tried harder, I would get A's, just like my sisters. My thinner, smarter sisters. Had one older, one younger. Thinner, smarter, they got straight A's. They were good at memorizing things, as it turns out. I wasn't. If it made sense to me, I'd remember it to this day. But to memorize things, it didn't interest me. Maybe that's it. I probably can do it, but I'm not interested by that. So, and I'm a visual learner. My bad. I sat in the back of the class because I didn't want to be noticed. Again, avoidance, right? So that didn't help either. I got through school about B-, C+, but my sisters got straight A's. And if I just applied myself, I could be more like them. If anybody ever tells you or starts a sentence with the words you should, whatever they say next, just go la 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 and fill it in with be more like me. Okay? You should be more like me because they're using their history to make that judgment, not yours. They don't know anything about you usually. Turned out later that I had an opportunity to take an IQ test, me and my sisters and my mom. Smartest one in the family, thank you. I have a genius IQ. I'm like, yeah. And I did not get the goodies I felt I deserved over that either. They're just, I know, yeah, I know. I know you're jealous of me. So it's another weird thing. That's another offshoot. That's how I knew my sisters were better than me. Here's the thing. Somebody gives you an A for something, and that is a perfect, great, perfect. A perfect report card has nothing but A's on it. But that's that's something that somebody assigned to you. A teacher decided that you should have an A. If somebody had known the way my thought process was, I would have gotten A's. No question. It wouldn't have had anything to do with tests. If they'd say, Karen, explain this procedure to me. Okay. And but the memorizing thing, I was no good at that. But if it made sense to me, I could tell you in and out and re-examine the whole thing for you and probably put it together as well. But that's not the way school works. So they got A's and I didn't. Therefore, I I called it stupid, but really it's just not as smart as they were or something. I like the word stupid. That was simple, and it gave me sympathy. Sympathy and understanding. With my posse, I would go with people that were just like me, and we would complain about everything together. Wouldn't change anything, but it made us feel better. Briefly, again, short term. And let's see. Didn't take much. I get lost all the time. In recovery, I recognize myself as being a lovable and valuable person, just exactly as I am. I have gifts that other people don't have. Other people have gifts that I don't have. Nobody gets all of them. Okay? Don't worry about that. You don't get all of them. I'm not a good gardener, and I used to say I had a black thumb. I could kill a cactus because I have killed a cactus. I overwatered a cactus. I mean, whatever. So now I have plastic cactuses in my window. Can't kill those. You just got to dust them off. So I tell my sponsor this. Nope, I have a black thumb. I cannot. I'm not the gardening. She said, okay. So for Christmas that year, she got me a plant. Like, what are you, deef? You know. And I loved that plant. It was called a paperwhite. It had the most beautiful scent. You know what I mean? The aroma of this filled up the entire kitchen where I had it. It was beautiful. I loved it. And I gave that one plant all the love and attention that I could give a plant. I did not go out and buy a garden and put a bunch of orchids in there, or the hardest thing to grow. You can't. I didn't do that. But I didn't prove to myself that I'm a liar. It's not that I can't garden. It's just not my thing. You know, not everybody likes to garden. Not everybody's a good seamstress. I wish I was. I don't know what happened to my dresses. You know, in home ec, everybody else's would come out beautifully, and I'm like, that's out of balance, isn't it? It's like, oh, I don't know what happened there. That's just not my gift. I have other gifts, and it's okay for you to have that gift and me not have that gift. So I got to stop trying to prove that I'm just as good as you are in the areas that I am not gifted in. And it's that simple. It's different from just not doing it so I won't look stupid. It's different. Okay. And I seek my own approval first and examine my motivations carefully when I seek approval from others. That's not the right word, is it? Where are we at? Do not perceive themselves as worthwhile. Yeah, okay. So in recovery, I recognize myself as being a lovable and valuable person on my own. I am a standalone person. If I try to enmesh myself with somebody else, I'm not going to measure up to their standards. Theirs are different from mine. Theirs aren't bad or good. They're just different. I'm going to tell you a story about a Chinaman hundreds of years ago. This is probably inappropriate, and I don't care. So there's an older gentleman and Chinaman, and he has one son left on the farm. Only one. Everybody else is already gone. And they're struggling. I mean, they're poor. They're struggling, and they only have one horse. And they're trying to till the fields and get ready for the rice and things. And the horse ran off. And all the neighbors said, oh, my God, that's so awful. I'm so sorry. That's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. And the old man says, might be good, might be bad. We don't know yet. And about 2 weeks later, that horse came back, had 3 more with it. And the neighbors go, oh, my God, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. And the guy thought, might be good, might be bad. I don't know yet. So the son, his only son that he has left, is trying to break in the new horses, rides up on one, falls off, breaks his leg. Oh, no, that's so terrible. Oh, my God, what terrible news. And the guy, well, might be good, might be bad. We don't know yet. And a week later, the Chinese army marched through, taking all the healthy young men. But they didn't take his son. See, we don't know. We don't ever know what's going to be good or bad. So I'm trying to take the words good and bad out of my recovery, that black and white thinking. This is just the way it is right now. That's all. It's not good or bad. It's hard because I'm conditioned. So I still do that and go, whoop, wait a minute. I have no idea if it's good or bad. And someday I'll find out. I mean, how many times have you had something turn around that seemed awful? And then, however long later, something comes in that's 10 times as good, and you go, oh, that's what that was all about. Okay, good one, But in the meantime, somebody said it this way: when God closes one door, he opens another one, but it's hell in the hallway. You know? It's hell waiting for that other door to open. But it'll open. So, and sometimes the answer is no. So, don't wait for a yes. Don't do what I did. The best advice I can give you is just don't do what I did. So, seek recognition and praise to overcome feeling less than. Didn't take much to assure me. I was happy with crumbs. But if I didn't get any crumbs, I would manipulate a response, then question it once I got it. If you weasel a compliment out of somebody, you trust the compliment. You know, gee, me. It's like fishing for a compliment. Can you trust it once you get it? You can make a temporary change in that person if you nag them hard enough. Take my word on that one. Or you can let them decide on their own what they're going to do or not do. Now, my boyfriend and I have abolished Valentine's Day because it's the worst holiday ever. You're forced to tell someone you love them no matter how you feel about them at that time. You might be in the middle of a lot of strife. You might be working something out. Who knows? Who knows what stage of your relationship you're in? But you have to buy a card that says, "Oh, I love you. Oh, I love you so much. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." And maybe you don't really feel that way. Can you trust that card if you guys are in the middle of an argument or something? So we don't do anything. We abolished it. We don't do anything like that. So, and we laugh about Valentine's Day now. "Oh, honey, should I go get you some flowers?" Yeah, a bunch. Red roses. Be great. Okay. Seek recognition. Yeah, I was always happy with crumbs. Whatever gave me the impression that you still cared about me was good enough. If you haven't called me for a week and then you call me, all right. Yeah, told you you loved me. Okay, crumbs, good enough. I seek my own approval first in recovery and examine my motivations carefully when I seek approval from others. I don't need anybody else's approval anymore. That's weird for me. That is really weird for me. That's the beauty of the program. It's a gift, not to need somebody else to give you an attagirl. Because when you do get one, it's like, wow, thanks. Then you believe it. Have difficulty admitting a mistake. Well, okay. So I made a mistake, so what? Looking stupid was absolutely avoided. I was afraid to admit things because these admissions equaled me being stupid. You know, if I didn't know something, I'm not going to turn around and say, "Hey, I was wrong about that." That's crazy. Who would do that? I do that now all the time. I can stop myself mid-sentence and go, wait a minute, I think I'm lying about that. Hold on. You know, and go check it out and say, well, maybe that's true. Maybe, you know what? I'm going to have to think about that. I'll get back to you. How hard is that? It's not hard at all. And for me, it was the end of the world somehow. I don't know why that was so important. And in recovery, I continue to take my personal inventory, and when I am wrong, I promptly admire it. I mean, admit it. Okay. I said that once in a meeting. I didn't mean to read it that way, and I read it, and I didn't even notice it, and people are cracking up, and what's so wrong with these people? Geez, they need some more recovery. Okay. Need to appear to be right in the eyes of others and may even lie to look good? Absolutely. Absolutely. A lie was just, I lied if the truth sounded better. It was just something I did. It was constant. I would lie about everything. I would always lie to look better. I would do whatever it took to look good. I already felt small, so I kept trying to look big, kept trying to look like I knew everything. In recovery, I am honest with myself about my behaviors and motivations. I feel secure enough to admit mistakes to myself and others and hear their opinions without feeling threatened. Wow. I can listen to somebody else's opinion and go, you know what, you could be right about that. Matter of fact, I think you are right. And I've changed my my workshops sometimes, right in the middle of my workshops. You know what, you've got a good point there. I'm going to change that. I am very teachable now. I don't stand rigidly on, I know this, because I'm smart, and I can prove it. I have a high IQ, damn it. So, see, I did it again. Sorry. are unable to identify or ask for what they need and want, because I didn't know what I needed and wanted. So it would come out in the form of something material instead. I need you to take me to dinner so then I'll know you love me. Or I need you to give me a raise so that I'll know you think I'm a good employee. I didn't really know that what I really needed was to feel better about myself. I needed to be able to value myself, and since I didn't, you needed to value me so I would feel better. It's if I say this or that, they will do this or that, and then I'll be happy. All the time. All the time. That's what I was in. And in recovery, I meet my own needs and wants when possible. I reach out for help when it's necessary and appropriate for a change. Might as well just put that "for a change" on there. Because now I can meet my own needs, generally speaking. I don't need much. I have more than I need. My needs are fine, and plus everybody else gets to be exactly who they are. I get to be who I am, so they get to be who they are as well. So I don't really need to change people like I used to. Perceive themselves as superior to others. This was a stickler for me because I didn't really know why is that in the low self-esteem patterns. But when I got into recovery, I did perceive myself as better than my family because they are not in recovery. And I still think that's true. However, that's not nice. I perceive myself as equal to others. Yeah, I mean, I'm just another person in the world just like they are. I've got some recovery, though. My life is happier than theirs is. I don't really hang around with them very much because they're not in recovery. I like recovery people better. But I don't not hang around them. I started seeking lower company so I could feel higher. I financially supported others so they couldn't or wouldn't leave, just like my mom did. Also, when I got into recovery, I started feeling superior to those that didn't have recovery. Yeah. So I used to financially support people when I was playing God. Because how are they going to leave if they don't have any money, right? It's perfect. It was ideal. I married a guy in prison. What a great idea. He's not going anywhere, right? It was ideal. It was perfect. And then it wasn't. And I perceive myself as equal to others in recovery. Look to others to provide their sense of safety. Yes, when I'm making somebody else play God, they got to take care of me financially, emotionally, and in every other way. With the help of my higher power, I create safety in my life. I do that for myself now. When I wasn't supporting someone else, I was trying to get someone else to take care of me. I always wanted more stuff, thinking when I got that new shiny thing, then I would be happy. Whatever that was, whatever I was reaching for that was just out of my range. Once I got that, then I would be happy. Have difficulty getting started, meeting deadlines, and completing projects. I did not have this issue. I would cut corners and cheat the system to come in on time. So I was kind of the opposite. I don't know if that's better or not. However, I started thinking about it, and I have a ton of craft projects that I haven't finished. Mostly because they weren't coming out like the picture. I'm not good at crafts. I'm okay with that. I wish I was. It's one of the things that I wish I had. It's a gift that I wish I had. I see other people doing these things, and they can sew something just by looking at you, picking out material, and 5 minutes later you got something beautiful. I'm just not. That's not one of my gifts. In recovery, I avoid procrastination by meeting my responsibilities in a timely manner. Most of the time. I try hard. And the last one, in low self-esteem, have trouble setting healthy priorities and boundaries. Yeah, I have no boundaries, just fear walls. I had no boundaries, just fear walls. They look the same, but it's just a fear wall. Okay. In my child life, no boundaries were allowed, so I didn't really have any experience with that. In my household, you don't get boundaries. You don't, what do you mean? You want to talk to me later about that? I think not. In recovery, I am able to establish and uphold healthy priorities and boundaries in my life. And that takes practice, and the ability to walk right toward your fear and straight through it. No going around it anymore. How is my time, please? I can't. 17 minutes left in this session. Perfect. Continuing. Okay. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Have trouble setting healthy priorities and boundaries. I'm going to put this. I wish I could go back and set childhood boundaries. It's too late. All that stuff has already happened and it's not happening anymore. What I'm learning now is that rather than throwing up boundaries, I am particular about who I spend time with. Somebody put this so nicely. It was one of my sponsees. She blew me away with this. It was something about I consider deeply who I'm going to allow to spend time with me now. Meaning, if they don't have recovery, they're a number one. They're superficial on my levels of friendship list. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I might bring that up on the next session just because it's worth it. There are 6 levels, in my opinion. Remember, this is not set in stone. This is my opinion. 6 levels of friendship: superficial, casual, companionship. Friendship is number 4, and then committed relationship, and then 6 is the big banana. You have to wait till all those levels are passed through before you can get to that guy, that person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. There's 5 different levels before that. But superficial is just somebody else in the world. Nobody is a 0. Everybody gets to be on the graph. You know, everybody is a level of some sort. But I don't have to place as many boundaries as I thought that I used to, because I'm not hanging out with superficial people. Not to mention, on the superficial level, you don't trust them with anything. No personal information. There's no obligations to that person or them to you. No expectations of any kind back and forth. They're just another person in the world. 90% of the people you know are there, right? Because that's everybody. And the casual level is like program people, co-workers, people you spend a lot more time with, but you still don't give them personal information. You're spending this time checking them out for a change. Okay, this is a whole different thing for me. I was always wondering if you like me. If you like me, we're good to go. Didn't matter. I didn't even think, do I like this person? Is this person a good person? Are they, are they nice to puppies? I mean, I didn't look at anything. If they thought I was worth spending time with, okay, having sex with, let's just say it. Okay, I had that whole thing wrong, okay? If they would show me any attention whatsoever, they were my new boyfriend, and I would, mentally size them up for a tux. You're about a 40 long, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, because I'd already decided on the relationship, and I didn't know anything about them. Now, and during the casual phase of your relationships, you're going to be checking them out. How do they treat their friends? Are you their only friend? That's a big one, too. Looking for red flags. I can't tell you how many red flags I dismissed out of hand. Gosh, so many. I did a workshop on this one time, and we just cracked up by the end because somebody would bring up a red flag and say, so what happened next? I married him. Okay, yeah, sounds about right, because you just walk right, they just deny them, alter them, minimize them, because they're paying attention to you right now, and that's not good enough anymore. And then companionship is you spend more time with that person than the rest of the people in the world. Feels more special. Doesn't have to be romantic yet. You can go to the movies, have a ski buddy, something like that. But you're getting to know each other better. You can start dropping a little bit of personal information. And then you get to friendship. They got to pass through all those levels. That's at least 90 days, because so far you've met their representative, and that's it. Okay? And you've introduced them to your representative, unless you're in recovery. They talk about being a whole person in recovery, and I started thinking about that, and I said, yeah, because I used to be fragmented. I would be one thing to you, something else to you, because you might be a different political partner, thing than her. So with you, I'd be a independent. With you, I'd be a Democrat. With you, whatever it took, so that I wouldn't be asked to leave the room, But now I'm a whole person. This is me. This is who I am. I don't hide anymore. And you don't have to like me anymore, which is also a big relief. It's a huge relief. It's okay. I mean, it's, I can't see why you wouldn't. I'm very, I'm very companionable, I must say. But you don't have to. Maybe I remind you of your old boss. I looked at Gail today and I said, holy cow, there's my past sitting right there. But the neat thing about it was I don't hide from anybody anymore. If I saw her today, since I have worked all of the steps and made my amend to her, we'd be giving each other a big hug and actually meaning it. It wouldn't be that, oh, taffeta, that fake hug that you do when you see somebody you really can't remember their name, right? But these are different now. Times are different. It's good. When I saw her, it gave me a good memory, not a bad one. That's what amends are for. Okay, I don't want to start on compliance just yet. Would you do me a favor and tell me when I've got 5 minutes left? Yes. Cool. Because apparently Minnie is not. Oh, you've got. Oh, excellent. Somebody needs to police me because I'll sit up here and yak. I can talk for days on CoDA. It's such a great subject. So when you introduce somebody to your representative, this is who you want them to think you are. It's not necessarily who you really are unless you've got some recovery in you. If you're a whole person, you're going to introduce them to exactly who you are. If they have different opinions from yours, that's fine. If these are irreconcilable differences, you're not going to go forward with them. They're going to stay a 1 or a 2. That's okay too. Each one of those levels is a good relationship. You just got to know where to put people. What I used to do is start people at a 6 and then move them back as they disappointed me. Right? Anybody else do this? Yep, there we go. And I thought that was the right thing to do. I was wrong. I had that backwards. I start everybody at a 1, even people that I've known for years. Let's see where they actually belong. And I think I'll try to bring that up and put it on the screen next time because that's really actually good stuff. My sponsor was the one that originally wrote one, and I liked it so much I adopted one of my own. So, very cool. When they introduce you to their representative, it's like a Victorian house. It looks really good on the outside, right? It's beautiful. It's very ornate and curly and carvings and all this neat stuff. But the back of their house is completely plain because nobody sees that part. So you're just looking at the front, and it's beautiful. Me and my ridiculous always go for the best looking one in the room. So effective for a lasting relationship, but because they looked good and they could tell me anything, and I mostly wasn't even listening, but they were talking to me, and that was good. Man, I've come a long way. Okay, so their representative, I had a guy on our first date. He drove my car because he didn't have one. Okay, red flag. All right. That's one red flag. I just brushed that one off. Okay. And he drove my car like a maniac, popped it up on a curb, busted the tire and bent the rim, and I still went home and had sex with him. So, I don't know what it's going to take from me, right? How many red flags, how bad would it have to be for me to say, I'm not going to have sex with you tonight? I don't even know. Never happened. So, I'm just saying. It's so sad. The story of my life is just so sad, but it does make for good stories and things like that, I guess. I use it for purpose now. In the next session, we're going to be going faster because we have 3. We've got compliance, control, and avoidance. Yes? The last 2 was committed partnership. And the last one, I forget what I call it, but that's your, the big banana. Yeah, the big banana sounds good. Sure. And I'll find that and bring that up for you, because that's good stuff. And do I have anything else to say? Yeah, red flags. Be careful about those. I have a thing about how do they treat animals. If anybody mistreats an animal in front of me, they're a 1 forever. No matter what. I got a weird thing about that. I can watch a person get murdered, that's okay. But you hurt an animal, now we got a problem. I don't know. That's just me. Okay. Are we about, do you want to take a break? Let's take a break. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.